Evening, everyone. It is 6:01. Today is March 11th, and it is 6 p.m., 6:01. I just said that, didn't I? I'm going to open this city council meeting. Will you all please rise with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, we'll do roll call. Councilman Loy has asked to be excused tonight, and there's no problem with that. Councilman Lavaca?
Here.
Councilman Koch? Here. Councilwoman Pedersen?
Present.
Councilwoman Kesty?
Present.
Councilman Henderson?
Here.
All right. Moving into approval of the agenda. Do we have an approval? I'm looking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman Lavaca, seconded by Councilwoman Kesty. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving to the consent, a motion carries. Moving into the consent agenda, item E, items 1 through 8.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 6.
Number 6.
Madam Mayor, I just had a quick question on item 7.
Quick, okay.
And I have a quick question on item 5.
Okay. Well, why don't we address those then? So we'll start with item 5, the contract renewal. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, Woody, on the SMARTS thing, are those fees going up rapidly, or is that something that we can kind of see as leveling off, or is it just something we have to deal with?
It should just level off. We did add a number of items to the archive, but I am working on trying to diminish the amount of things that we need to archive. So right now, I don't foresee it going higher than what it is, unless the vendor chooses to raise their prices.
And are we required by state law or public record stuff to archive certain materials?
Yes, I believe it is state law.
State law. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then we'll jump down to item 7. Councilman Lavaca, did you want to ask your question?
Chief, if you don't mind, on those AED units, they're obviously a lot more intense than your standard AED unit we would have in there. So there's trade-in value on them. Is that the plan to trade in, or is there a plan to do a donation of some sort? Or
These ones are actual trade-in because these are the ALS version. Okay. So we did replace our AED version that you're probably referring to that we see out in the community. We've replaced those here in the last 2 months, and we actually are waiting on some of the training stuff, and we'll be rolling out those to our basic life support providers as well. And the thought is, on those ones, we're looking at a way of hopefully we can convert those to a public AED use. So the plan is if we can do that, we'll be looking at maybe reaching out to some of our public buildings that are owned by the city, or maybe even looking at using them in some of the police cars, if they can be converted to public use. The ones that we have on the agenda tonight for purchase are for our paramedic providers, and those are a lot more intensive, so we can't send those out to the community in any other options. So the best case for us, now that they are at end of life, is to use them for a credit. So we're turning those back in to cut into some of the costs for this purchase.
And then there's an app called Pulse AED. You guys must be registered on it because I see an AED in here. But it's an app that shows where all the AEDs are throughout the community.
Yes, sir.
And so you guys are registered on that?
Yes, now that's for all the AEDs that are used for public use. And these ones that are on here are not part of that program because they're for licensed providers. The one that you'll see on your app is the one right here in the hallway. It has a picture of it. And we would like to, if we can convert some of these ones, not the ones that are on the purchase agreement tonight, but the other ones that we're talking about, then we would, wherever we donated those to or put those in place, if we can do so, we'll want to register those as well. So
Thank you very much.
you betcha, sir.
Okay. And then Councilman Henderson, did you want to have discussion regarding item 6, the purchase of the city hall vehicles?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to motion to table item number 6. It's not in our 2026 expenditure budget.
And after a lengthy conversation at last week's meeting, we discussed several avenues that could better fit into our comp plan.
I would be willing to second that, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so do we have any other discussion by any of the other council members?
Could I ask, what is the purpose of this vehicle?
There's two.
So there's two vehicles. One is basically assigned to the finance department and the other to the IT department. These are vehicles that passed their ER&R retirement about 4 years ago, but we've kind of limped them along at that time because they were still working fairly well. And this winter, they started having problems with the cold weather and electrical problems and dying and things like that, where a couple times they didn't work. So they're really beyond their useful life to a certain extent. They're certainly not something you want to drive out of the county with some confidence. So the ER&R, like I said, the ER&R budget retired them about 4 years ago, and we just kept that fund balance in ER&R for them, and this seemed like an appropriate time to replace them.
So are you saying they are in the?
Yes, so they were fully funded and we had the balance for the vehicles retired out about 4 years ago, it looks like, so 2022. And at this point, they're having more maintenance issues than we want to have in a city vehicle. So we figured this is a good time to replace them with vehicles with the state contract going rate.
Is there any possibility to combine both cars for use at City Hall for various agencies and just schedule?
We could give it a shot. I know IT uses the vehicle to one of the vehicles to kind of run off wherever they need to, whenever they need to. And part of the benefit here, and Woody can speak to it a little more, is that they could use a vehicle, a little higher clearance with kind of a hatchback for moving IT equipment around. The current vehicle is not real suitable for that, and at this point it's I think it's like a 96 Taurus. I mean, it's
Yes, it
very
is.
old.
It's a really old Taurus.
And then the other vehicle is used by finance staff typically for making runs to the bank and things of that nature that they do very routinely. So we could try to sync up schedules, but Woody would have to comment on how that might work on his end.
That vehicle is also used by the PD records department. So it was IT, finance, and the PD records all trying to use that same vehicle, which is why I opted to try and use the Ford Taurus as long as possible when it got surplused.
Any other, go ahead.
Just because I'm new. So I know we have this ER&R fund, and it seems to be a real strength of the city of Sedro-Woolley. And this is, I think, my first council meeting with Kelly not here. Can someone explain to me the relationship between the
So-
ER&R and the budget?
So in ER&R program, what we do basically is we buy vehicles and equipment. Public Works has the most, and this includes our police vehicles and our fire vehicles, all the way down to our lawn mowers that we use and our mowing equipment. And we basically rent those vehicles back to ourselves when we purchase them and then use them. So we give them a life expectancy, their cost, their expected escalation, and we, like I said, set aside money every year for the hours that we use them. So the idea is in 15 years or however long that works, we have enough money that we've set aside in the bank, which is our ER&R fund, so that we can go do equipment replacement strategically. As equipment wears out, we now don't have to wait for a funding cycle to come up with, say, $500,000 for a garbage truck. We've actually been saving that money over time in its own account so that we can replace it when it's needed.
So it's essentially run as a restricted fund,
Yeah.
and the point in time where these vehicles were scheduled for replacement was
Correct.
a few years ago? Okay.
And then there are times too, like for instance, we have a backhoe. We've taken really good care of it. You know, it really is still a functional piece of equipment, even though it's 15 year or whatever the scheduled lifespan it was done. That's kind of how we kind of coin it as making two backhoes out of one. So we won't just surplus that backhoe. We'll keep it in service because it's still a useful piece of equipment. But then we'll buy its replacement backhoe. So we'll have two backhoes now, which is some ways how you slowly increase the fleet without making big impacts to the budget.
But that's not what we're doing
That's
here.
not what we're doing here. These cars are done. I don't think I want to sell them to anybody, but that's okay. That's what we will surplus them and people can do what they need to when they buy them, or we may junk them, who knows. But right now, this is a matter of just replacing the vehicles with what's available on the state contract, and then those vehicles will likely last us another 15 years or more. They don't necessarily get a lot of mileage on them and that type of thing. Not like our public works vehicles that drive our streets every single day. And so, anyway, that's,
Just one last note on these vehicles. They're also used by staff to attend conferences when they go out of town. The alternative is to pay mileage to staff for driving their own personal vehicles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I personally would like to see all vehicles that we're purchasing go into the actual agenda and not the consent agenda. We had that recently happen with the fire department and a truck. Money was there, but hey, let's spend $80,000 on a truck through a consent agenda. So I thought at that meeting, we pretty much made it clear, like, we should have a discussion on why we're spending that money, what it's for, and not have those large scale items, $60,000 or $120,000 to the community, go through consent. I think this would be a great opportunity in time, when we bring it back up, to discuss something like a Volt or something like that. I mean, we had the idea in the comp plan of buying electric vehicles. So if it's an in-town driver, right? I mean, it would make sense to kind of explore what type of vehicle we're actually going to get. I know a lot of people that have way earlier than the 99 Taurus. My truck's a 2000. It doesn't mean that I'm just, an in-town driver. Doesn't seem like it's the highest priority. It might be something we do, but I think that having the discussion on that actual item and then seeing what other type of vehicles might be beneficial for the city, especially kind of thinking that comp plan thing too. All right.
Okay.
and just.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, I just real quickly want to say, having worked around IT people, I know how important it is for them to just get going when they need to. And, all the IT isn't in this building, obviously. But the other car, we need to start sort of, especially what's going on with the senior center and the library issues. We may want to start tightening our belt and maybe doing mileage on certain things might be wise for the other car. Thank you.
Just real quick, also, this is kind of an example where, these cars came up for replacement 4 years ago, and we've made them last another 4 years, and we do try to do that pretty actively, too.
All right. Any other comments, questions? If not, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Henderson, second by Councilman Lavaca, to table item 6, the purchase of the 2 City Hall fleet vehicles. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I want to abstain because I only want to approve one of them.
Okay. So motion passes with one abstention, and that is Councilman Koch. Okay. So moving on then to the consent agenda, or back to the consent agenda, we're looking to approve items 1 through 5 and 7 through 8.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman Henderson, second by Councilman Lavaca. Any more questions?
Mayor, real quick, on that item number 4, there was a
Oh, yes, I'm
discrepancy
sorry.
pointed out by
Yes.
a member of the public that
Yes.
we would like to address.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So, yes, so regarding the contract renewal, let's see, item number 4, the lease agreement with the Sedro-Woolley football cheer. Actually, that contract is renewed. It's May 1st, 2026 through April 30th of 2031. So I know, Councilman DeYoung, you had public comment regarding that. But yeah, just so we have that corrected in the minutes. All right. So with that correction, on item 4, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Well, tonight we have special guests and presentation. Rebecca Scrindy from Helping Hands Food Bank is going to come and give us a presentation. Welcome, Becky.
So I'm here today doing a good thing. I'm talking about thanking the city for, we got the property. So we were able to pay for the property in 8 years. And yesterday I had the deed in my hand and that felt really, really good. I don't know, since not everybody was here, I think you were the only one that was on city council back in that day. To kind of catch you up, I started April 2015, 2015. And my first day when I walked in the building, they turned to me and said, oh, by the way, you got to move out of this building. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. But so fast forward, we're now at that point where phase 1, done, phase 2, done, and what's next? So since we've moved in, we've put 25 million pounds of food through that building since August 1st of 2018. Wow. That is 556 semi-trucks lined up, if you could visually see what that looks like. Some of the things that we've done, obviously we had the National Guard. We had over 60 different National Guard members that came through for, I think it was 18 months. In that time, after they left, we had about 30 interns that came in and out. That funding was about $370,000 that came from the state of Washington into Sedro-Woolley for that.
May I just say, National Guard, that was during COVID. You kept operating during COVID, which was absolutely phenomenal. Yep.
During COVID, we pushed out 700,000 pounds of food, so that's a lot of food. We've had funding from the state of Washington through our We Feed that went $500,000 to our local farmers. The Department of Commerce is the ones who paid for the property. They happened to find $325,000 that hadn't been used since 2019 and said, do you want it? You have a perfect project, so that's how that came about. The 1590 funding that you guys supported was new to the facility, and you've already got a report on what great stuff we did with that. The Skagit County diversion funding, that is helping people stay in their homes when they get those eviction notices. The Department of Health, multiple Department of Commerce grants, and private donors from outside of Skagit County. All this funding came in that wasn't here locally. If you're talking about the local funding, just in 2025, we fundraised over $2 million worth of cash, basically, from this local community of Skagit County. Let's see, we opened 5 other locations due to COVID and them closing. Marble Mount, Hamilton, Anacortes, Swinomish, and Burlington were new. Both churches, the Inspired churches, wanted us to be there, so there we are. We have over 400 volunteers. If you do the math, the state of Washington thinks every hour is worth $41 per volunteer. So they bring in $625,000 worth of value in their volunteer work. Let's see. Oh, that $2 million of funding that we brought in is unrestricted. And when you talk to nonprofits about what's the difference between restricted and not restricted, is restricted means I have to purchase something very specific. So that $2 million, we can do what we need to do with it. So if we need to buy something for someone like a different kind of food, maybe it's a senior program that they need a special kind of food that we just don't get from anywhere, then we'll go ahead and buy that. We've added the veterans van services through the county. The Skagit Transit gave the county a van, and the women of the Daughters of the American Revolution bought the wrapping on it and all the insurance on it. And even today, we took a veterans to doctor's appointments today, and that was great. So this veteran is working towards getting her benefits. We've had a lot of events in the building. Currently, like today, we had PSC in there. They're doing a solar array with Janicki on the Janicki building, and if the low-income families sign up for it, they can get shares of that solar array, and it goes on to their discount on their bill. So we've already signed up about 100 families for that. And that is a program that PSC is starting with Janeke, but we're hoping that down the road, maybe our property can have a solar array on it over either the building or over the new, where the house is gonna be. We've helped with flooding. I learned that we have the only generator in town, it seems like, that could sustain a city operation, so that, I'm really proud about that. So some new projects that we're working on, it starts next week. We are getting EV plug-ins for an outreach car from PSE. They have a ton of money for like community buildings, and then this could, technically, the city could probably look into it, but we're gonna have one outreach vehicle, which we get to buy in probably May. And that's to go to events and presentations and upriver if we need to. And we are getting a truck that we saw yesterday when we were down in Fife, and it's heading to Indiana to get fixed into a food bank on the inside of a truck. So it'll have two sides that'll open up, and it's really long and big, and the food bank will be inside the truck. It can go anywhere, so it can go to small communities, RV parks, out anywhere that there's no like electricity or building or anything, and it can go anywhere. It can be driven by anybody, so it's not a CDL, so it'll be really accessible to people. And we're hoping to even put a little like ice cream song on there, so we can drive into communities like Colshan and Mount Vernon and say, hey, we have fresh produce, especially when we have extra produce. And instead of giving it to maybe a farmer, we're taking it out to people that can still eat it, but they can't get to us potentially. That's a $550,000 project that PSC is doing with us. The truck should be done August, right in front of our impact luncheon in September, and we're hoping to bring it to that and showcase it off. We are looking at the house property as a bigger project from Fruitdale to the cemetery, basically, and really gonna ask the community what needs to be built. Really needs to all be torn down, but the goal is to really, my job is to go around and talk to community partners and really talk about, like, what do you need here in the community? Listening to the IT for those flood, fire, or follow-up meetings is really getting someone in there to say, what could it be, and let's build it for that, and not just limit to the money. We have lots of people that are interested in helping us build something, and we're just kind of trying to figure out. I've never actually thought about what we wanted to do with the house, because we didn't own it. And so last week, or yesterday, whenever I got, Monday, I was like, now I can think about what we want to do in the house. The goal would be to have places for the unhoused to shower and do laundry, maybe get a meal, have veteran services. But I think there's more out there, and I think people have better ideas than I could have. So I wanted to say thank you, because it's a big stretch to think that we built over $2 million, I think it's $2.5 million building now when we buy the property. And there wasn't a ton of support on my end, but like the community just stepped up, and I mean, John Janeke helped me. And when I cried, when the ceiling was falling down at the old place and I was crying, he goes, Becky, just get it done. Don't worry about the money. And here we are 8 years later. That blows my mind. And I just wanted to say thank you. So the impact that the city made, allowing us to be on that property when we had to move. Aaron Berg was really big in helping, I think it was Keith Wagner and Rick Judd, my old president, decide where it was gonna go. And it's just been a really great opportunity to build that and see it really work. And I'm in awe of it every day. So say thank you for I know being on city council can feel new and like you're not really sure what you're gonna do, but you get to be big, fun parts of big projects, and it might take 10 years to get to that point where you see it at its best, but I couldn't do it without the support of the city, because all these folks, somebody called me the other day and said, hey, we got a 911 call, I need you to go over there and check on the person, and that's kind of the relationship that we have with our police and our fire department, so.
You know, Becky, when you first had the ribbon cutting, you mentioned it was the first time I'd ever heard it, where it was Helping Hands Food Bank and Innovation Center.
Solution Center.
Well, you have done that. You have certainly done that. You have created all kinds of solutions for all kinds of situations. And you've not only done that, but you've actually helped people move into other jobs, getting the training that they need and move into other jobs, so bettering their life. Really have done some remarkable things. So you're quite a gem within this community. Thank you on behalf of the city for being a part of our community.
And I do want to say thank you to all of the volunteers, all my board members throughout the time, and all my staff throughout time for everything that they've done.
Yeah, great vision.
Thank you.
So, yeah, any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilman
If you
Pedersen.
haven't seen it, you should come take a tour.
Councilman Pedersen?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the great partnership that clearly you've built over the years. It's really, really impressive. I'm new to the council, and you know, as soon as you step into elected office like this, you start getting calls from people, and I got a call from someone last month probably, or maybe in January, saying, hey, I've met this homeless gentleman, and I really want to help him. I don't know what to do. And I was able to point them in the direction of Helping Hands, and I'm just so grateful to have that resource here in town. Like our mayor was saying, not just a food bank, but also a solution center. It's really great work, and thank you for the partnership, and thanks for building that.
Thank you.
Councilman Henderson?
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. It's always nice to see you.
Once a year.
Huh?
Once a year.
Oh, you've been in here more than once a year. Come on. I just wanted to ask about, you were mentioning like the 2 million of unrestricted funds that you guys received, and are you guys tracking what's going on with the county and the nutrition program and the shortfalls and all that other stuff? And if so, is there anything that the food bank can do to help when they find a nonprofit to start running that to help offset the cost that all the cities are going to start picking up?
This isn't recorded, right?
It is.
I have been asking since I've been there, part of Helping Hands, so coming on 11 years, how we could help. We get food in bulk all the time, and so it's just always fallen on deaf ears. So now that it's coming up, the date 1 July, yes, if it's right. We have, what we're prepping for is the seniors who no longer get the food, because we have a mobile food where we deliver food to people's houses. That's what we're prepping for, is making sure we have enough food to add, and capacity to add those folks to our mobile food delivery, so at least they're getting groceries. And it is senior, it's not a hot meal, but it's something. I mean, in me, this might be a question that you have me and you on the side, but I think in the form that it is now, that what they're asking you to do for the money that they're giving, there's no one that can do that I know of. And we've been getting calls a lot to ask us how can we step in, and we want to, but it's just, we're just doing what we do best, and that's make sure that the seniors that do get dropped off that program have a place to go to and ask for food, at least get food.
Are you willing to have that discussion
Yeah.
with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings that at the county when they're all doing what they're doing the best they can too. So.
Well, that partnership's dissolving between what the county's doing for the nutrition program. So there's some discussions going around, and one of the more important ones I've been involved in as of late is between the Northwest Regional Council and the Skagit Council on Aging, and that I wish I would have remembered to get a hold of you to come to that meeting too, because it was a good one to be at. So
Oh, they've called me a lot.
have they? Okay, good.
And my thing is, it can't be done the way, I can't see a way through how it is currently. We can't have a dietitian on staff. We can't do nutrition, education, and we just, there are a lot of really good ideas, but they want it a certain way. And that, because it's money that's restricted, and so you don't get to be as flexible. It's like unrestricted funding, you can be really, you can pivot, you can kind of do whatever you want that you need. But restricted funding, if it's coming from HUD funding or wherever it's coming from, federal funding, it's a tough ask.
And we have, Charlie's going to speak to that tonight, too. He's got some information, so we understand fully what you're saying. It's really been, it's more convoluted than people, I think, fully understand.
Yeah, I didn't give you a full answer because I was like, I don't want to say no. I just need to like, what do we have capacity for?
Right.
And if we started this conversation 2 years ago, because we knew something was happening 2 years ago, this would be it would be fixed, right?
That would have been nice.
Did you have a question?
I did.
Yep.
Thank you for the great work you do for our community. It makes an enormous difference. How are you seeing need in the community? The reason I ask is, there's disturbing economic things on the horizon. Gas prices in the United States doubled in a week, the highest since COVID. And I'm just wondering about cutback. Are you seeing cutbacks in HUD or any like SNAP benefits? I know after the midterms, a lot of the medical extension of Medicaid's all going to be cut, which will put a lot of people in a tough situation. So are you seeing more need, or is it?
Yeah, we started having this conversation last March, and we were given some extra funds from the state of Washington. The state of Washington really supports food programs in food banks. They don't in seniors, but they do in like schools for lunches and that particular group. So we started talking about it, and we started buying stuff. Right now the warehouse has about 250,000 pounds of food sitting in it, knowing that we were going to have to stay ahead of what we could see coming. What we did in 2025 was kind of right the ship where it came to like people in COVID could come 10 times a week if they wanted to at the different sites. And so we've limited that. We've gone through all of the participants to make sure they only had one card. So they're coming, so we're trying to, and we've evened that out. So now we're still showing a growth, but we cut back on letting people come so much, but they can go to all sites. There's Tri-Parish, there's Mount Vernon as well. And so we thought about it, and like, if we can get to who we really serve, and that's kind of where we are right now. We're still growing, but I think both sides of, during the flood, I got phone calls for, hey, what do you need? And we just, 7 semis later, we didn't have to buy any of it, just getting in everything we could up here. And I know that sounds a little greedy, but hey, they asked, right? And so we're still seeing the effects of the flood. We're still working with 6 families out in Hamilton, working on getting them completely stabilized as we can. We know that it's going to be hard, but I think all we can do, Helping Hands is a nonprofit, and we share that information with our donors. We have, I think, over 2,000 donors that will come and say, what do you need? How can we help? It was like COVID. In 1 month, we had $300,000 come in because people were like, I'm saving it for a rainy day and it's raining. Some of the taxes that are coming are going to hurt our donors, the higher level donors, which is sad. But hopefully what they do with that tax money we'll see. But right now it's kind of like we're just putting food on the shelves and making sure that people get what they want, with the ideas we know it's going to be hard for most people. We're seeing a lot of people, FedEx uniforms, we've seen PACCAR uniforms, Janicki uniforms, come into the food bank, and we notice that because we want to make sure that people know it's not just low-income folks that have to come to the food bank. So John's argued with me a little bit on that. I'm like, I'll take a picture next time. But it's the reality is we don't know what their home life is like, and that's fine. They can.
I appreciate that. I misspoke. The price of gas didn't double. The price of a barrel of oil went from 60 last week to it hit 120 on the world market on Monday. So
The best part of our funding is we don't get federal funding. We get food. We get it in a item, and we get some state funding for food and other things like utilities. But the percentage of our money that is coming from any government is like, I think we're down to 15%.
is that, where does the food come from? Department of Agriculture?
Well, 50% comes from the grocery stores. 9% comes from the Department of Ag. The other percentage is coming, there's a small percentage of food drives, maybe 5%, and the rest we purchase now. So less than 10% of the food comes from the government,
It's interesting. Thank you.
which is awesome, because that is really restricted.
Councilman Lavaca?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing that. That's really nice that you guys finally got that property. It's yours, free and clear, and now you can start dreaming about, you know, what you want to do without having to worry about it too much. I did, have some quick questions in line of what Councilman Henderson was talking about, and I know now is not the forum, but just different ideas that were coming out was, regionally, thinking a little bit more regionally, because they're, county-wide might be too broad, and there was a thought that you actually save money on going county-wide, but I just mathematically, I can't see it in my head with cooking here and then transporting it all over, because the fuel prices, the gas, versus having 2 kitchens and dealing with like either a quadrant of 2 or 4 zones, something like that. But there has been thought of a kitchen. And so I don't know if that was ever be a discussion with the food bank. I think it's, it'd be later discussion, definitely, but it is one of those things that I'm just as frustrated as many others. North Star is kind of a county program, and obviously this has been something in the works for about 2 years, but it's never been a consideration to really attack this item as an organization that kind of focuses around that. So now that it is on the plate, it's funny how everybody's calling some of our local nonprofits to say, hey, what can you do to help us? And trying to throw that onto those plates that are already over full. So hopefully it's not flooding your company or flooding the agency with a bunch of need or putting that undue pressure on your plate as you reach out to support that. Just want you to know that's definitely not helping hands job to reach out hands and feed everybody, clearly. Hopefully they come up with something. But a regional kitchen might be an idea, and that might be an idea for a location in that area to transport regionally. Again, great job on getting the location, stuff like that. I think that you guys obviously do really good. I know that Janicki has about 450 employees in Sedro-Woolley with an average wage of about $90,000 a year. So when me and my wife volunteered at the food bank with Danny over there, it was, there's a lot of people that need it, and then there's some people who maybe, you never know. So you never know what people's home life's like. I think that's a great way to put it. So thank you for all that you guys are doing.
One of the things that has been shooking around is like, why don't restaurants step up and help in Meals on Wheels? If it's labor, that's the expense. It's not the food that costs a lot of money, it's the person cooking, and it's transported by volunteers. And so really thinking outside of the box and really because that equals sales tax, which equals coming back here, and 1590 funding. I like using sales or taxes multiple times. So I've talked to a few people about like a caterer or a restaurant, especially in Sedro-Woolley. I think there's 60 people on Meals on Wheels. I don't know if they've thrown out numbers at you. I thought it was about 60 that get the delivery, not the congregate meal. I don't know how many. I see Carl's pictures. It looks like there's a lot of people there, but really thinking outside the box and taking that time to see how is that even possible versus like do it like this, because like this is a broken system. So let's unbreak it and think of something else.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're gonna have to think outside the box on it, and I think we kind of lock ourselves into this structure where this is the only way, the only nonprofit, the only agency needs a top-down approach where Family Promise, Helping Hands, and the Teen Center, when we actually got you guys in here to give you funding to do what you need without strings attached, you ran out and came back the next summer and said, we saved lives, we fed people, we housed people, and we got the job done with the money you provided, and that was really cool. So I agree. You got to get a team of people thinking outside the box.
And
But,
also nonprofits are not the answer
yeah.
for all of the deficits of all counties and states and cities, and, because we get paid to do it, so, some of the articles were like, oh, a nonprofit will do it, and you're like, oh, okay. Good luck with that.
Well, great job.
I mean, I love seniors, they're my favorite, and I want them to be fed, it's just, we should have had this conversation 2 years ago when we started this conversation, so.
Councilwoman Kesty?
I just want to say one of the things that I love about you the most is your out-of-the-box thinking, and that's the Woolley way, getting stuff done. And it is too bad 2 years ago they wouldn't bring it forward and we all couldn't get together and think about these things. They obviously dropped the ball and had their priorities elsewhere. But I'm looking forward to hearing all of the ideas because there are people listening now. And Charlie's doing a great job too at having a seat at the table. So we're listening. We can rock and roll.
Right. Well, thank you.
I
Yes.
was just gonna do the public comment, but then got invited to do a little longer, so. Sorry if I
Well, we're
took
glad
too
you
long.
did.
Thank you.
We always appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item G, City Administration Report. Charlie?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start out with a quick update on the senior center situation, and I'll do this every time I have updates at council meetings going forward until we hopefully get these issues resolved soon. So first item is I attended a meeting called by SCOA, the Skagit Council on Aging, along with Councilmember Henderson. He was there representing Burlington. It was at Burlington Senior Center. It was an interesting meeting. We learned the big news of that meeting was that NWRC had their RFP closed last Wednesday and they received no responses. And so they were then at that point in their process, and they get state and federal funds, especially the federal funds, have a lot of strings attached in terms of, just like when we do a transportation project with federal funds, all kinds of things that we have, hoops we have to jump through. But their RFP process now allows them to reach out individually and potentially sole source something to different agencies. So they were going to be talking with SCOA and Community Action. There were a couple of the agencies there. Also, all the senior center advisory boards were there. This was the meeting that was referenced last week in our meeting that I was able to attend as well. And Burlington City Council was represented as well. So good discussion, and we're kind of awaiting the results. I think that group will probably get together again, but awaiting results of meetings that NWRC is having with different organizations. There's, I think, some momentum by those organizations to potentially become the provider if that is an option. And what I understand about NWRC at this point is that because these are state and federal grants, they have to do a countywide contract with one provider. They can only do one contract for like Meals on Wheels. So it doesn't mean that it can't be managed in a sub-regional way, but that is a limitation here, and I think that's been a barrier for folks stepping up necessarily to respond to the RFP. A lot of concerns about timing as well, and I think a lot of commitment from everybody around the table to figure out something that's going to work, but that exact solution isn't totally lined up yet. We've got some upcoming meetings as well. Mayor and I are meeting, Mayor Johnson, with Commissioner Wiesen and county staff next Monday, March 16th. So that is more of a negotiation discussion about options the county has presented. And, we've already expressed our position on a number of things, thanks to the council's direction that you provided at the last meeting. So the county knows where we're coming from at this point going into that meeting. And we also expressed our displeasure, and will continue to do so, with not being included early on. So the county's been talking with NWRC since last October, and we should have been at those meetings, because if we are asked to be a financial partner in this, which we believe is the case, we need to be there from the beginning to help craft the solution. We didn't have that opportunity. So essentially, we had the county at the table making decisions on our behalf. And now we are stuck in a situation that we have 3 months to go until we need to have something figured out. The challenge for us is we are not in the driver's seat. These are grants that NWRC controls. They provide a bulk of the critical funding for the county's nutrition program, the countywide nutrition program. And, we're not the decision makers, but we are meeting with NWRC also on March 19th. So they did take a meeting with us, and I hope to get a lot more insight from that meeting. Mayor Johnson will be there as well. So that's what's going on the nutrition side. I wish I had more concrete clarity on that, but it needs to emerge. We've expressed to the county that the handoff between the county and NWRC on this, and whoever the new provider is, that needs to be seamless, and that's something that that we frankly are expecting of them and need them to do for our residents. And we're offering to help in whatever way we can be of assistance, but that really needs to happen, and we've just let them know. Things aren't maybe as easily solved and taken care of as people have the impression they might be at this point. Looking ahead on the senior center side of it, there are potential partnerships that are emerging. There may be the opportunity for a nonprofit to take on the meal program countywide and also possibly take on senior service delivery countywide. So that emerged after the meeting, at the SCOA meeting on March 6th. So that's an interesting concept. It's really early, and I don't know exactly where that goes at this point, but that might be an option. And they could likely do it more cost effectively than the cities could, just given the constraints that cities face as a public employer. Partnership with Burlington. We have a meeting set up with Burlington also next week on March 18th, as I mentioned. Or maybe I didn't mention it, I think I skipped over it, but we are meeting with Burlington to just explore what it would look like for the two cities to partner on this. Burlington has a commercial kitchen, we don't. I would recommend, if we're gonna talk about developing a commercial kitchen, that we just separate that project a little bit from trying to get this immediate issue resolved first. Because it will take time to build that out regardless, and that we'll have to work around services being provided and a variety of other things. But we are going to talk with Burlington to explore what could be possible there. We're hopeful Mount Vernon might join that conversation at some point. So that's going on. Then the third option to be, we provide our own services, pretty direct option. That could include delivery of the nutrition program, but again, we still need this regional entity to be the key hub of that, given the grant limitations. And then continuing to receive services from the county, believe it or not, is an option. The county reminded me they have not fully made up their minds on providing senior services. I got an email on that just in the last 24 hours, so it's not an option I will be recommending to you unless the county does a lot of backtracking, but just given their budget situation, I think having them provide funding is likely a better option than having them provide the services going forward. But that is there. So those are the four options right now that we're working on. We're talking actively with the county about, again, extending the interlocal agreement through the end of the year, so there's no break in the senior center being open or the services being provided. The nutrition program's the big concern still. It's just uncertain right now. The money's there, but the provider of those services is not yet identified. So more to come on that. I do believe that it will get resolved, and we're certainly doing everything we can to let people know it's a big deal and they need to focus on it, and we're focused on it. So that's an update on the senior center. Any questions?
We have two questions here. One from Councilman Pedersen.
I was wondering about the SCOA. I looked at their website and it looked like maybe they were associated with the county. Can you talk a little bit about that entity and how they're interconnected?
I don't have a lot of background on SCOA either, and I think if they were to become kind of the regional partner, I'd want a lot more detail on them. They did call this meeting. They do have a board that I saw on the county's website. I believe they do some statewide work. But I don't have much on them. I went to this one meeting and met some of their people, and they do have staff. But I couldn't find anything online either after the meeting, so still looking for more on them.
Councilwoman Kesty?
Thank you. I was just curious, because of the dates of the 18th and 19th, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Lavaca, but would it be, since the mayor will be stepping down, do you think that the mayor pro tem should go with so that we could hear back and have a smooth transition to those meetings?
Yeah, I would defer to Mayor Johnson on that one.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't want to put you on a hot seat, Charlie, but any theories on why there was no response to the RFP by NWRC? I mean, I've sat through a few no response RFPs, and, you know, it gets tricky going to single source. Then it's tricky.
Yeah, only theory is what Becky said, and a little bit of feedback, we heard at the meeting from potential respondents who were present that it was a lot. It's a lot to do quickly in the time frame that was presented. Even the county has said that it went out later than they had planned on. So I think we're running behind. There's a lot in this RFP, and these agencies described a scenario where they would have to drop everything else they were doing essentially and risk the rest of their operations in order to try to deliver on what this RFP is requesting of them. So just too big of a lift is basically what I'm hearing, at least from a very limited group of folks.
Too fast to turn around, too heavy a lift. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh,
All right,
Councilman
Madam Mayor.
Lavaca.
Yeah, thank you. So I would be willing to go to that if that's available, for sure. We want to make sure we have smooth transition. I've been trying to do that for sure. It's surprising that the county is undecided on food service this late in the game. That's a little bit disappointing. Obviously, this put a huge strain on a lot of our elderly people, and that's actually what I hear a lot of throughout the community. They were very satisfied at the last meeting when they showed that we all really supported them, supported what was happening and the struggles they were having with that. I'd hate to find ourselves in another situation of where we're leaning in on an unstable stick, basically. So thank you for all the hard work you're doing with that. It is something where I think, communicating and thinking out of the box would be great. If there's a way for us to communicate, which I'm sure we already are, or hopefully the county is, with our community center, with our senior center, and with seniors that are on there. We haven't seen a lot of data on that as far as demographics or amounts or things like that, because they weren't really keeping track of different areas per se, but they are now. So a way to notify them of upcoming changes or the things that are happening. So that would be great. Thank you.
Councilman Pedersen?
So now that the RFP is closed and we know that nobody submitted a proposal, is there any talk at this stage with the county about maybe rethinking and reassessing the transition plan and creating a more reasonable opportunity for another organization to take on this work? Because it's, like we've been discussing, it's logistically impossible for another organization to step in at this point. And now we have that kind of definitive answer with the results of the RFP. Is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, I actually directly contacted the county on that issue. There was some discussion at the meeting we attended last Friday as well on that topic. The county was pretty direct with me on that and saying that the request to them was, can you hang on to this a little longer, essentially, and create a longer transition time rather than just turning it over to somebody else. And the response I got was basically no. It was pretty blunt. So. The county is not there at this point. I'm trying to encourage the county to go talk to NWRC and get a little better handle on what's going on, because I think the county, at least the county staff I'm talking with, feel like it's all going to be fine. And maybe, I hope they're right, but I'm not convinced at this point.
All right. Thank you, Charlie.
I've got the other item here too.
Yes, yeah, I know you
I'm
do.
just going to roll into that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so the next item, shifting gears, and I've got an item after this too. So it's one of those nights of just variety. So the next item is the council strategic plan, the council goals. This is a first read because we've taken the council's direction from the last discussion we had on this, which was you had 6 goals that you submitted through the template process. And when we had our special meeting here, we narrowed that down to 4 goals. So we've crafted those goals, done our best to not lose any of the meaning, we think, of what you initially conveyed. We've taken all the strategies. We had to, in some cases, make some decisions around strategies and action items and which goal they would fit under. So we tried to pick the ones that we thought were closest to what the intention of those items were. There were some wording changes to some of the strategies. We didn't do a markup on this because it would have been impossible to read, but we would going forward if we make changes from here. So I'm kind of asking all of you to, do your own read on it. If we lost the meeting on something or we missed the boat on something, we definitely want to hear that tonight. Or if something should be categorized somewhere else, we need to know that. But we've done our best, and then we've added some additional action items. I think we've added a strategy or 2. Public Works Director Bill Bullock's here because his department's heavily involved in some of these, and so he'd be best to speak to some of those. Bill's done a lot of editing himself on this. So we've put that work in, and really tonight we're asking you to, you can see that, I'll just mention real quick that where we go from here. So we really need feedback from you tonight, and if you have just, minor edits, minor comments, we can make those right here. It would be helpful to have council motions on this stuff, so we're really clear on how much we need clear direction, so that we're dialing this thing into exactly what it needs to be going forward. If we have a lot of feedback and a lot of thoughts on changes, I would recommend we do what we're doing with a comprehensive plan, which is you could just send me your comments and suggestions, and I can basically create a track changes version of this that would show all those, and then we can bring those back and go one by one. So however you want to handle it, but it'd be good to get that feedback. But then after this, we have some time. We could go through this process out into May if we needed to. But after that, at some point, and ideally by then, the council would be ready to adopt this strategic plan so that we can then build the budget, because we need to put these things in our budget for 27, 28 where we can. And I do always add that where we can part, we will do our very best. Some of these are intentions and very easy to do. Others are investments that depending on budget circumstances, may be more difficult. But if we don't get them in 27, we'll do our very best to get them in 28, and we'll call them out if we don't. But we need to get that built and then the budget back to you. And then once the budget's ready to go, we'll put this all in Invisio. And this is set up to go into Invisio. That's one of the reasons why we had to pull some of the action items and strategies out and attach them to one goal, because that's the way that system works. And that's the way it tracks. It particularly tracks on the actions. So we'll be adding deadlines to these actions. That's a part of the process that'll happen in the fall. Staff will track on that. We'll also be adding lead people to each of them. So those people will get, as Bill knows very well, and I do too, and even some of the chiefs may know, Woody definitely knows. They'll get reminders. They'll get reminders basically every month. Go in, you've got like 5 days to go in and update your stuff if you have updates. And that's when then you get the reports that show you the progress that we're making and the overall progress on the plan. So that's kind of where this is all leading, but what would really help me tonight is the attachment on this is a draft strategic plan, and it would be good to get some feedback. If it's minor, great. If it's more significant, maybe the first thing to talk about would simply be which process you would like to go through. Do you want to just try to make edits tonight, or do you want to send me your edits, and I will do my best to, I will get all those into a document and bring them back to you.
I got a couple of things here. I think we could make some small edits tonight. I did see, I'll just go through a couple of these on activities for 1.6, hire a website professional on staff or by contract. Hiring one on staff doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't remember that being a part of the discussion. We could have AI develop it, so I could see some contract guy using AI develop a website that's actually really good, especially with the advancements. I think the ChatGPT 5.3 is not released yet, but the 4.1 is, but the 5.3 is supposed to be really good, so being able to utilize those services is going to be good. I think we spent $10,000 on what we have, and so just being able to lean a little bit more into AI for that. would be great. Then, you know, when we go down to the 4, it's right down here.
Councilmember Lavaca,
So-
if you don't mind, it would be helpful to know if the rest of the council agrees with that
Oh, yes.
before we make those changes.
Comments?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I also I like how we were able to send in our stuff the way that we had done before. So I would very much be okay with that as well. But I don't think we need to hire a website professional or, for that. On staff at all.
Yeah, I can add something.
We just want,
sorry.
Patterson, just one.
I just wanted to ask, we had originally discussed bringing this to the council during a study session so that we could discuss the strategies and activities. Is that still an option? Could we feasibly do that in April instead of just, because I do have a lot of notes, but I think it would be helpful to have a discussion with the council, you know, I don't know.
There are two options. I'm going to miss the April conference because I'm going to be at a conference myself, or the April study session, I'll be at a conference myself, but I could do it in May. It's pushing the timeline a little bit, so if we commit to that, I would just ask the council to really kind of bear down on it that night. We need to make a lot of progress.
I like that idea.
I really liked the discussion that we had. I thought it was really I thought it was a really good activity, and I thought you were a really good facilitator, Charlie.
Well, thank
So
you.
I heard a yes from Councilman Cock and Councilwoman Kesty. How about you, Councilman?
May? Yeah.
Okay, how
I'm
about
good.
you?
Yeah, I'd be down for May.
Okay.
If I may just make a couple more little comments on here. One of them was the strategies, implement the goals and policy of the city's comprehensive plan. So it just kind of tells you guys how important that comprehensive plan is for policies and strategies. And then we do have the SRO officer in there, so I don't know if that is a strategic plan or if that's something that was decided 5 years ago to have. And I think that we've got funding for it. We're just waiting on the school to have funding. That would be 4.1. And then just the last thing, there was 5.8, which was the stormwater plan, approve and implement the stormwater plan, and hiring a stormwater staff. And I'm just unclear on how that, I don't remember ever discussing that in our strategic plan. Maybe I'm just blanking on that part, but I can see where that would be something maybe, but for the strategic planning session that we had, I don't remember that coming up.
Yeah, I can provide some clarity to that. I'm looking at Bill because I think he entered that, but that's something we're already planning to do. So some of these items just simply align with the goals that were presented by the council and some of the strategies. So last time we wrote everything under the goals. So we are adding some input from a staff perspective as well to try to kind of not meet you in the middle, but come up a little bit so you get our input as well. So that's what some of that reflects.
Makes sense. Well, May would be,
Okay. So would everybody like to table this until May, the 1st? Okay, all right.
Charlie, really quick, it would be good possibly to send notes in before May, just so that you have those at least.
That would be great, actually, if folks are willing to do that. I'll send out a reminder on that as well. But yeah, if you can send me your notes, suggested edits, I wouldn't say thoughts, but things that I can put into a track changes version, that will help us, I think, move this conversation ahead.
I want to say that a lot of my comments are just like not notes for changes, but like I want to have that kind of discussion that we had in that initial strategic planning, just to hear from the other council members, you know, what we all think, you know, as a group.
Perfect.
More discussion points than changes.
That's okay. I mean, if you send me comments, I can at least enter those as holding places for conversation, if that works.
Great suggestion. Yeah. Okay, and you have one more item, do you not?
I do later, a little bit later in the agenda, not in this section, but I think Bill's got a quick
Okay.
comment.
Yeah, just to comment a little bit to Councilman Lavaca's 5.8. Really what that reflects, if you recall, back in October, staff came back with an option 4 to the stormwater plan, and that's kind of what that's reflecting, because part of that was to hire a stormwater staff to Public Works Department this year, and then wait 5 years to potentially hire another one. And so, that was the option that gave us a kind of a more level, kind of a more level approach than what was proposed that past August. And so that's just what that's reflecting. It's there.
One more comment, yes?
Sorry.
No, no.
I believe that I had also included the stormwater plan in, like, not in the high, because we discussed those high-level goals and not so much kind of the strategies and activities, but I think that I had also submitted that. So I don't think it was just the staff kind of adding that in. I think that may have been in the materials that I had submitted, just to clarify.
In separate material? In the material that when we first set it up and we put it on the wall? I don't remember that. All right, thank you.
All right, very good. All right, moving on, so we are, let's see, council reports, Councilman Lavaca?
Thank you very much. A big focus of it was for the elderly staff, so, or elderly people in our community or seniors, so thank you for touching on that right away. So that was great. We are entering into springtime with daylight savings, so I do walk around a bit. I am seeing a lot more people around town, so that's really exciting to see, and I've heard good things about just the cleanliness or it being more enjoyable out. So that's always good to hear about and good to see around town. And I do enjoy seeing a lot more people walking around. So have a great spring.
All right, thank you. Councilman Koch?
Yes, a couple, thanks for the fast work on Riverfront Park. I drove down there and saw that you guys already got the stands up for Little League, and I think that was fabulous. Also, I read in the materials there was an option 2 to swap the soccer fields with NSTRA. Where would that be exactly?
So this is something I'll be bringing to council a little bit for just an information-only item. So NSRA is, gosh, I can't remember what road it is, but that's basically North Star Recreation Area where the Veterans Memorial thing is. And so this is actually, so Nathan brought this up. This was actually an initial plan that was brought up in 2001. So we've now spoken with the county a little bit. It would be more expensive to relocate the ball fields up there just because the current plan with Winnie Hauser versus Riverfront, we're talking about relocating these facilities, I'll go over a little bit now, from an established ball field to another established ball field. So there's no soil amendments and earthwork or anything like that established with it. So we're looking into it. County seems to be in favor of it. I'm going to do well, either Nathan or myself will do a presentation to the County Parks Commission. But it's still developing, and we're still working on layouts and kind of what it would take. Kind of the ballpark figure we took to figure out what the earthwork might take is actually coming from what we spent on Olmsted Park. It's about 6 acres to reestablish 4 Little League fields in that area, and that would, a couple of the advantages is we could do it during the summertime as opposed to between Little League ending and startup, which is the winter time. And so, and then the other piece is that, soccer fields would stay at Winnie Hauser. It would open up a lot of acreage at Riverfront, which then potentially we can add more soccer fields later. It just gives us some of that opportunity of what the council's goals are, is find opportunities to add more ball fields. So this would be one way to actually do that, so it kind of pays it forward. I don't know what all of the decision points are. It certainly will be a bit of a decision point for these things to decide what we really want to do. So I've named the project now that's just called Riverfront Ball Field Relocation, because that fits either option. And there may be a third option out there I'm not thinking of, but we've found another option. We want to do our due diligence to vet it so that council can help us make that decision of, Bill, do this, and then we'll do it. But it just takes some coordination and understanding with the county, which I think we have some pretty good positive input right now. The problem has been since 2001 is how do you fund it?
Yeah. Well, that's a good creative idea, certainly worth the discussion. The other point, the other comment I was going to make is after the alarming near miss of council member Lavaca's wife at the roundabout, and we had a gentleman here who was a trucker talking about the roundabout at near the school. So I went out and drove down Highway 9 thinking, it almost sounds like, how are these guys missing or gals missing and driving so fast. Well, as you come down from fire station number 2, I mean, pretty quickly at the top of the hill, there's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. So you should be slowing down right then. And then as you get down a little bit farther, there's another 35-mile speed limit sign. And then you get into the roundabout, there's a 20-mile-per-hour sign, which I think has to do with school. But in the roundabout, it's 10 miles an hour. So, you know, you have to be really derelict to ignore all that and to speed. But it's still a good point, and by the gentleman that was speaking about truckers, maybe we need to do a little bit more speed, patrols there. Maybe it certainly wouldn't be. I talked to him outside, worth a little call to the Department of Transportation. Hey, we got this new roundabout. People should know about it. So,
And we're already working on some additional signage to help with some truck route, stay on Highway 9 type thing and that type of stuff to then kind of, it's that balance between having a forest of signs that no one pays attention to the right signage that gets voluntary compliant. So we're already working on a plan to enhance that as well.
that's great. And the flashing signs help when you're in the walk, but yeah. So, I mean, I think you guys did a great job, but we have people that don't pay attention for whatever reason, so.
Councilwoman Pedersen?
I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention this, I'd attended a walk roll event last month, and I met a lady there who let me know that the Skagit County Non-Motorized Advisory Committee is looking for a representative from the city of Sedro-Woolley. So if anyone is interested in joining this group, they do a lot of great work in terms of transportation planning, non-motorized focus, so biking, that sort of thing. Please reach out and I'll help you get in touch with them, and we can get a representative from the city of Sedro-Woolley, because we need that. We've got a lot of people who really enjoy the outdoors and a lot of people who don't use cars, so that's really important work.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kesty?
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Henderson?
Thank you. I also attended that meeting last Friday, and unfortunately, there weren't a lot of answers yet. There was a lot of the meeting regarding the nutrition program specifically to add. So we're hoping to hear more back from them, from the NWRC and from the Skagit Council on Aging. A lot of information, though, that I had not yet heard or gotten from them, like for instance, the operator, whoever's going to operate the nutrition program, is going to have full access of the kitchen and all the kitchen's assets. The county's, I don't know if they're giving it to them, but they're letting them use it. So, but it is important that the public and especially the seniors know that every stakeholder, from what I've experienced so far, is taking this incredibly seriously. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. A couple things. First off, I don't know if you went through and read the weekly update, just a couple highlights. There was a grant award. It was for the climate element that we need to do for the comp plan, and so that was received. We are grateful for that. Also, many thanks and very excited for our building inspector, Mr. Lowell. He wants to work with the schools and present materials to students and do workshops to help them understand how the community works, building safety, public officials, and safety residents and safety within the buildings. He's got some books and whatnot, coloring books, but I think that's great that he's reached out doing that. I also want to make you aware of the Northern State Cemetery. This has been a while in coming. This is a couple years. We went before the legislature last year and received funding. Many thanks to Representative Carolyn Eslick and Sam Lowe and also Senator Wagner. With that money, we have started to move forward. We are waiting on 4 different items. One is the tribal consultation letters. We're waiting to hear back from them. Also, the Department of Archaeology and Historical Preservation, we have permits that we are waiting on. The current one that we have expires the 15th of this month, and so we're waiting for the one that will be renewed on the 16th. Just waiting for those letters from the tribe. Also permits, waiting for the money to go to the county for the permits. So all this is moving forward. Right now, we're kind of in this technical stage where there's just things that just need to be in place before we move forward. But the anticipated start date is very soon. It's going to be June, hopefully, June 15th of 2026. So that is good news that we're going to be moving forward with that. And very exciting when that gets completed. The other thing is if you want to make comment before the Skagit County Commissioners, they are looking to approve the comprehensive settlement agreement in the Federal Energy Regulation Commission, the FERC relicensing for our hydroelectric plant. That is happening in their hearing room on the 10th of March. So Tuesday, 10th of March at 9 a.m., which, you know, that was yesterday, wasn't it? So anyway, that is happening. Also wanted to state that I wrote a letter to Governor Ferguson again regarding BESS. There has been some movement on that, although not a lot. We're still pretty much kept in the dark because this is on county land. It's not the city that is city land, although we're just a few miles outside. But I said, Dear Governor Ferguson, the city of Sedro-Woolley remains firmly opposed to the GoldenEye Battery Energy Storage System, BESS, project proposed for construction on the outskirts of our city, despite the clear objections expressed by our residents and city council. The Washington State Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, also known as FSEC, appears to be moving forward with this proposal. At this stage, it is not clear whether the formal adjudication of this highly controversial project will be required. This uncertainty deeply gives us the impression that there isn't significant consideration for the environment and for safety issues that the community has clearly defined. Should the project come before you, we recommend, should it come before you for recommendation by FSEC, we respectfully urge you to exercise your authority as governor to deny this application. While we recognize and support Washington's clean energy goals and need to expand electrical capacity to meet them, this project presents substantial and unacceptable risks to our community. Numerous battery energy storage system fires across the country have demonstrated the very real environmental and safety hazards associated with these facilities. The potential for fire, toxic emissions, and long-term environmental damage makes the project incompatible with the well-being of our residents and the surrounding natural resources. We respectfully request that you take the time to review and consider the concerns raised by the City Council and the citizens making any decision when the proposal comes before you. The health, safety, and environmental integrity of our community is dependent upon it. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully, Mayor Julia Johnson. So that has been submitted. Okay, and that is all I have for tonight. Moving on to new business. We do not have any unfinished business tonight. New business, we have just one item, and that is review of the applicants for Ward 6. Oh, yes. You want to do public comment?
No, I just wondered if there was any public
No, I know. Before we do that, then we will do public comment. Thank you, Councilman Cock. And I have on the list Ian Larson, come first.
Thank you, Council, for having me. My name is Ian Larson. I live at 813 Cultus Mountain Drive with my wife, right at the bottom of Dukes Hill. So I firmly understand the speed situation with the truckers and whatnot. It's crazy. I'm actually here tonight. Last time I was here, I was with the Downtown Association, and I've been recently getting back into the community and wanting to serve. So I've been meeting with councilmen and staff and the mayor and trying to kind of understand what everybody's working on. And I must say that I'm very impressed with the comprehensive plan that you guys are working on and what was in the packet this last week. I love the strategies and what you guys are targeting. I think that's spot on and what the community is looking for. So the other comment I had was about transparency, and I feel like what you guys have done with the Ward 6 application process has been exceptional. I think that that should continue when you need to look for a replacement for Mayor Johnson. I think that we should have an application process, vetting, and an opportunity for people in the community to come forward that might have something to offer. So, and that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. And Carl DeYoung.
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. Good evening, chiefs and staff. First, I wanted to say that I appreciate the direction of the draft strategic plan. The document talks about smooth transition for senior center programming, including meal services, also housing options for vulnerable residents in our community, and a community budget survey, and a stronger engagement in the whole community, including underserved residents. This gives the city a good compass bearing. A plan is not only useful a plan is only useful if it is a steering wheel and not just a hood ornament. Second, on senior services, I hope the city will continue to keep its eye on one simple standard: no gap, no confusion, and no one left wondering what's going to happen as of July 1st. The packet indicated that the current agreement would end on June 30th, and that the city funding is available to support replacement contracts for the second half of the year so services aren't disrupted. That's encouraging. Residents should not have to stand on the riverbank and wonder whether the bridge to July is ever going to get finished. Third, I support continuing the partnership with the Sedro-Woolley Youth Football and Cheer. Programs like that matter. They give kids a place to run, a place to play, learn discipline, and be part of something bigger than themselves. And the field developed and maintained by the organization is just a real community gem, and it's serving families all across the district. And that's something that we're all looking forward to, is more family activities here in Sedro-Woolley. So thanks for catching the typo on the dating. So my request tonight is a friendly one. Let's just keep moving in the right direction, protect the continuity, and fix the small things before they become bigger things. Residents can handle honest explanations and even hard decisions. What builds trust is when the city shows its work, keeps the handoffs clean, and makes sure the details are all buttoned up. So thank you for your time, and most importantly, thank you for the service to the community.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else within the council that would like to give public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. If there was anybody online, I would just want to make you aware that we have a technical issue with our equipment, and we would not be able to hear you. Or we're hoping you can hear us, but we would not be able to hear you. So, thank you. Okay, now we can move on to new business, and the item that we have before us is the review of applicants for Ward 6, the vacancy that is there.
Mayor Johnson, Mayor Johnson, can I get a quick point of order? So on the online agenda, it has the interlocal for Amendment 1 Senior Services second read, but it's not in our packet. It's on page 44.
You have,
And I pulled up the
under
newest.
under new business or old business?
It should be, it should be under unfinished business, I think.
I don't have anything under unfinished business. Does anybody else?
It's on the
Online.
latest online version, but it's not on the paper packet.
Can't explain that.
I can't either.
Woody, it's page 44.
There are two packets. I'm just trying to see which one is showing up online.
Okay.
So the one that's currently online, I'm not seeing it on there. It was on the,
8 in the consent agenda?
So it ended up being 8 in the consent agenda, but it's on,
We approved that.
Yeah, it's already been approved.
okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure if we were gonna have a discussion about, or I didn't want it to get lost.
Yeah.
Because it shows up as that. Okay, never mind, thanks.
Yeah, just
Well,
briefly, I wrote it, so I did put it on the consent agenda, just thinking that we had extensive conversation about it last week, and it felt like the council was good to go on, probably without a discussion or presentation, but, yeah.
So we apologize for the confusion, but thank you for bringing it to our attention.
It's probably my mistake.
Well,
I
it
didn't know
looks
if we
like
were gonna have a
it's
discussion on it
online.
or not, but.
Yeah, no, we'll look into it. It
Yeah.
should be consistent between what's
Yeah.
online and what's in your packet, so.
online it is a consent agenda. So it's not in the old business, but it's in the consent agenda.
Yes, it should
Okay.
be item number 8 under consent.
That's where I missed
Right
it.
there. Okay,
I missed it there, so,
no worries.
thank you.
All right. Okay, very good. Back to new business, reviewing the applicants. So I'm going to turn this over to Charlie. This would be Kelly, but I'm going to turn this over to Charlie since Kelly's not here. So, Charlie?
Yeah, just in brief, council, so the process, this is straight out of the council governance handbook, but your process calls for you to review the applicants now that the deadline has, the applications now that the deadline has closed. That deadline was March 2nd. We received 3 applications, and those are included in your packet. The process going forward is after you decide who you would like to move forward in the process and interview, then the clerk will send out a list of potential questions to those to be interviewed, and then on the 25th, our next meeting in 2 weeks, that's when interviews would be conducted, and the council would potentially make a selection. If for whatever reason a selection is not made at that time, there is a 90-day deadline on filling vacancies for council positions, and April 15th would be the day we would hit that 90 days. So that's where we are in the process. It's a little bit different in the, from what's in the council governance handbook maybe than what you're used to, but for moving an applicant ahead in the process, it requires a motion, a second, and basically three votes. So I'm not going to assume the motion and the second are a vote, but essentially you might think of it that way, and you need one more person to also support. There are 5 of you here tonight, so that's pretty much a majority of you anyway. But that is the process. I've suggested to the mayor that it might be helpful just to go name by name and see if there's, and that way we can just kind of work our way right through this.
So, yes, Councilwoman Kesty?
Thank you. I don't ever remember doing it this way. I have no problem with going line by line. I just, in the 6 years that I've been here, I have never seen us have to vote on someone to be interviewed. It was just that the applicants came forward, we had gotten it, and then we were, interviewed them and potentially nominated them that same day. So this is really new to me, and I kind of think it's like a waste of time and redundant because, these people could have been here and we could have been moving forward with it today. So since we've never done that, is this like a new thing that you're doing, or we just never followed the rules before, or why is it going this way?
That's exactly
I'm guessing it's the latter, that we just pulled it straight out of the governance handbook. This is a separate discussion, but something we could clarify or streamline in the council governance handbook. I also looked at this step and thought, I don't know why we need to do that, but it is possible. Here's one reason you might want to do it in the future. If you I once had a council seat in another city that we had a filing deadline, nobody filed, and then we had a special filing deadline, and 6 people filed. So if we had a vacancy and 20 people applied, the downside might be the council might not want to do 20 interviews, but that's pretty rare. So anyway, that's the only scenario I could think of where this process might be useful, unless you wanted to just pare it down this evening for some reason.
Well, thank you for clarifying. I was just curious.
But I actually appreciate you bringing it forward, Councilwoman Kesty, because there are things that are in the governance handbook that just because of tradition, we haven't really followed them. There's other times that we have followed it, but there's other options that fall in line with the RCW. So, for example, what Mr. Larson was saying tonight. So that's something that probably, I know that I have had that discussion with Charlie already, that I think that there needs to be eyes on the council's governance handbook and go through it section by section and, eliminate or add to whatever you need to do as a council, so.
I'd be all for talking about it. It's just, it kind of seems when it's, it's picked for certain reasons for different things that might suit others. So I'd like consistency for it.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
I do appreciate the concept of interviews. I mean, this is an elected position. The voters do not, in this instance, get a chance to vote. We vote for them. So I think the most transparency, the interviews, allowing them to talk about who they are. I mean, people can look, I know this from having interviewed 100 people, literally 100 people for jobs, and people can look great on paper, but it's in person, are they the right personality fit? I think all that is very important. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Councilman LaVaca?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am in favor of sticking with the council handbook or the governance handbook. I don't think we should deviate from that. I'm not in favor of deviating from that for any reason because the previous council had voted that in. And so to pick and choose or to meet what's convenient isn't appropriate at that time, but it is appropriate to bring it back at another time when this isn't a topic or there are no topics at hand and say, hey, this is something we might want to revisit. Do you guys want to go through this? Should we talk about that? And then we're talking about it at that time. So I think we need to stick with the governance handbook, and if we decide to change that policy, that should be a discussion that we have.
Okay, so with the governance handbook, what we have in front of us are 3 candidates, and you do have the opportunity to move forward.
If I may, Madam Mayor?
Yes?
I do want to say, first off, thank you to all the candidates that did apply. That is pretty awesome. And it was nice to see them, and they all look like they're well qualified. So it's going to be quite the decision-making process for sure. And so just throwing that out there as far as the people who are willing to serve for the community. Thank you.
So if I may be so bold, is it the wish of the council to move all 3 forward?
I'd like to go line item.
Line
by
item.
the-
Okay. So the first at the top of the list is Carl DeYoung. And I'll just go down the line. Councilman LaVaca?
So am I going based upon what I'm reading on my feel of the person, or are we just making a vote to have the person move forward?
Just have the move forward.
Oh, I would like to see him move forward.
Okay,
I second.
okay. Councilman Cock? Yes?
No.
No? Okay. Councilman Pedersen?
No.
Okay. And Councilman Henderson?
Yes.
So we have 3-2. That moves Mr. DeYoung forward. Second on the list is Elizabeth Ann Lau. Councilman?
Madam Mayor, this is for hearing them interview?
Yes.
Okay, I think every council member is more than willing to make a decision however they feel necessary. But may I ask, why wouldn't certain council members want to hear somebody wanting to serve the community? Like, this isn't a vote for having the person be there, it's just hearing what they want to say. Unless we're voting to say whether we're moving them forward, in which case we can vote on all 3 of them right now and
Well,
decide who's
I
going
made
to.
that motion, but Councilwoman Kesty wanted to do them line by line. That's why we're doing it line by line. So I'm asking you.
Yeah,
for-
so that's why I was just asking, why wouldn't we want to just hear all of them if they're going to interview?
I'm okay with that as well,
So,
too.
yeah, so why would we vote one down right now? Or we didn't. I know 2 members said, no, we don't want to hear those people,
I
so.
can
that-
explain.
that'd be great.
That particular member has been defeated by the voters in the last 2 elections. So I think the voters in his case have spoken. That's my opinion.
Okay.
That's my opinion also.
I was just going to say that I don't mind going line item by line on them because I think it'll make it easier than if we've already looked at their applicants, we see if we wanted to move these people forward to apply for the position. I'm ready to move forward who I would like to hear from that position.
Okay.
And if it,
So I'm, okay, thank you. So Councilman LaVaca
Well,
or Elizabeth Lau?
I would like to hear all of them.
Okay, I'll put you
that's the
down for
case,
both of them
yeah.
then. Councilman Cock?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, we will move Elizabeth forward. And with Alicia Stout, I've already heard from you, Councilman Lavaca. You say yes?
I think we should.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
No.
Okay. Again, we will move that person forward. So we have all three candidates moving forward, and I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great hearing from all of them, and I appreciate their willingness to come forward and put themselves out there and be interviewed for this position. Okay, so we will hear from Mr. Carl DeYoung, Ms. Elizabeth Ann Lau, and Ms. Alicia Stout at the next meeting on the 25th. All right. With that, if there is nothing
Madam Mayor?
else- Yes?
So we had decided at one time to, at the end of the meeting, to talk about anything that we would have for future meetings. And so one thing I wanted to just talk about is if we could add to one of the Parks and Rec's discussion about parking at the Veterans Park and trying to encourage better parking over there. I know it's a county park, it's not our park, but it would be something I would think that the council would definitely benefit on, because the city would benefit on there, because there's no parking there, and it's just full all the time. The other thing that we had discussed is Councilman Henderson brought up police drones. So I just wanted to make sure that that those do go to a list and that we know where these items would go to. The next thing I would like to do is just make a motion to have a mayor discussion, the appointment of the mayor discussion take place on April 8th and get that on the agenda for April 8th. And so that we can have a discussion on the best replacement process for that and go through the council governance handbook and have a discussion on what's going forward there.
Yeah, and we are going to do that. That's already been.
I'm saying on the 8th, make a motion to have it done on the 8th.
Can I just ask a point of clarification on that? So we were planning to talk on the 25th about the process for the mayor, pulling it out of the council governance handbook, which is pretty straightforward. Is you're suggesting we delay that until the 8th?
Unless, yeah, I mean, that's my suggestion, unless the council feels differently.
But
I
not
made a
the,
motion.
not the selection. The selection would then come at some future time.
Well, I would like to have the whole discussion going forward after that point, because we have the comp plan, we have the seniors, we have a lot going on. And so, but I also didn't want to lose track of that. You won't be here on the 1st, so I'm thinking the next available time would be, a great time would be the 8th, if the council is in agreement to that. But
Yeah, I'd be good with that too. The 8th seems like a good time to, as per the governance handbook, to go through, have that discussion and appointment. We are now 55 days without a Ward 6 representative. And then we're gonna add another 14 to that. So, without an appointed mayor, moving forward, we need people up here in seats representing the constituents, and I think moving very quickly and very swiftly and just getting things done as per the governance handbook is the best option for us.
So you do have on the 25th, you'll be voting in Ward 6.
So it's almost like tonight would have been, which I see that we do have a calendar, the 16th, the 25th, the 25th. Tonight would have been a really good, because there was nothing on the agenda, all new business. So just bring them in and have them interview. And I was thinking if they're here, we can just interview them and then we can vote on it. But that's clearly not going to happen. So I made a motion to put it on the agenda for the 8th of April. If anybody seconds that motion, then that's great.
I have a question. What are we putting
Yeah.
on the agenda on the 8th exactly?
It would be a discussion regarding the mayoral appointment.
So this would just be the discussion, but not
It would be starting the
voting.
process for that discussion, going through the governance handbook, and then moving forward from that point on.
And is there a reason why I heard I don't remember who, and I haven't memorized the governance handbook. I heard someone say the 25th it would be possible to start that discussion. Is there a reason we would want to delay until the 8th?
Well, the 25th, we have the interviews coming in from 3 parties. And so at that point, it's going to be a discussion, and there's going to be the back and forth, and then whatever else we have on our agenda. Today's was a light agenda. So today, we probably should have moved this up to have that discussion with Council Ward 6, so we're not pushing it so far out. And then we could have done it on the 25th. But I feel like we do have city business to discuss as well, and then we should be able to handle all that at the same time. So staggering it, Ward 6, and then doing up the comp plan senior, which is always a discussion, but the comp plan is going to be a big one, and then doing up the mayoral discussion. So that's the 25th, the 1st, and the 8th. That's just my mindset.
Go ahead, Councilman Kesty.
So then on the 8th, you're suggesting that we would then have the discussion and potential appointment for the mayor position?
Yeah, have the full deal on the 8th, or it might take to the next meeting after that, or whichever, but start that, and we could have that meeting and that appointment as early as the 8th.
Yeah, that's kind of what we already had scheduled.
So if we're appointing someone on the 8th, what is the
Well,
timeline?
that's not a guarantee.
Well, but if we
Councilwoman
were
Petty said.
if we were gonna vote on that, what would be the timeline for accepting applications or nominations?
There would be, so the governance handbook doesn't say to do that. Now, there's an RCW that our attorney, for some reason, suggested or made a reference to, you could do this, but it's not what's been voted in by the council in the past. So on the 8th, we could have a discussion to say, is that something we want to do, but now we're changing the handbook? We're changing the goal or the game rules right at the time of playing the game, and that shouldn't be, in my opinion. Now, the council could have a different opinion and have a discussion. So it could be a discussion. If somebody on the council wants that position, let's have that discussion on the 8th. It's going to be a little bit of a long discussion, I would imagine. And then they could be appointed that time and or not moved on to the next meeting. But the only thing I'm saying is these could be long discussions on the 25th, on the 1st, and on the 8th. They could be some long meetings.
So what you're saying is there wouldn't be applications? We would just,
Well, according to the governance
Follow the
handbook,
governance handbook. It's right in
It's
front of me. It
not.
says
It
the
was
city
never
council
suggested,
will
yeah.
appoint a new mayor from among the members of the city council. It spells it all out very clearly. The application process is for a council member vacancy. And so that's the process that we just went through. But the mayoral process spells out in here exactly that.
yeah, you can always vote to change rules as long as they meet or exceed the RCW, right? And so that's important to note. However, the council, at some point, I don't know which council it was, already voted on this process. And so if we want to change that process, we certainly can have that discussion. That's why the 8th would be a little bit of a longer discussion maybe. If that's the goal going forward, great. But right now, there is a set policy in mind. And so I don't know that it's necessarily right to suggest other means without the council first weighing in with the code that's been voted on other councils. It's kind of like taking the other councils and just like, you guys said something, but we'll toss that.
Yeah,
So-
the council would have had to approve that.
Correct, yeah,
Right.
they did, and so that's why it's in the governance handbook. And so, some council in the city voted on by all the elected, or all the constituents, said, hey, let's do it this way.
Charlie, do you?
I was just going to add, on the 25th, we were planning to bring the process straight out of the governance handbook just to walk through it with all of you. It's very straightforward and direct, just to check in and see if there were any adjustments, tweaks, changes, anything different you wanted to do. And then on the 8th, our schedule had us going through the selection process.
I think that'd be helpful for me because, I'm new and I haven't memorized the governance handbook.
No, yeah, totally cool. So my only motion was that to
Nice
actually,
to review it.
to have the whole conversation on the 8th, go through the governance handbook and stuff on the 8th. So it doesn't appear that it's been seconded though, so maybe we don't do that.
I'll second that.
Is it something you guys would want to do? I mean, we can vote on it, obviously, second it.
If what you're proposing is that we follow the governance handbook and we have the discussion and possible appointment, then I would go for that as well.
All right, so my motion is to have this full discussion on the mayoral appointment on the 8th, going through the governance handbook, and then if it is the appointment at that time, because that's what the governance handbook is, great. If the council's wanting to change it as a majority, then that would be a discussion at that point too. But that would all take place on the 8th.
Okay. The governance handbook typically, I think, is changed by resolution. So if you do decide to change it, it may delay things, but we'll lay it out for you, and we'll have like a timeline with that night being the potential selection.
Yeah, that'll free up a little bit more discussion for that night. That'd be great. And then if people want to read the governance handbook to go through it and just see how that work lays out and ask questions to the city, that's always available too, right, Charlie? They can always,
It's on the website.
yep, awesome. Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, see, you got your light on. Okay. All right. So happening on the 8th. So, but next council meeting, you will be interviewing and making decision for Ward 6. And it'll be good to finally have full team again, full council. Okay, anything else?
Just one question. On that 25th for the discussion on Council Ward 6, is that an appointment on the 25th as well, or is
Yes.
that, so that would be appointment, and then they would actually be, cool.
Sworn in, you bet.
Nice. Thank you.
You bet. Okay. All right, 7:46. Everybody have a good night. We're adjourned.